Today we're going to compare the cameras on an iPhone 14 versus the iPhone 15 and see if there are any huge differences. Let's start off with the ultra wide and wide. I feel like with these two lenses, for the most part, they are going to be very similar. Now, there are going to be rare moments that one picture will be cooler than the other, but that doesn't happen all the time. Another pro on the iPhone 15 is you have a 2x button right away, so you can tap to zoom. You don't have to scroll like the iPhone 14 since you only have 0.5 and 1x. And the next obvious improvement is being able to zoom in all the way up to 10x. With the iPhone 14, the max you can zoom is 5x. And from the quality standpoint, in my personal taste, I feel like with the 2x, if you're going to show it to a person or friend on the phone, they're going to barely notice a difference. And some may notice the very slight background blur on a new iPhone 15, so that may be a deciding factor for you. But I feel like where you can see the biggest difference between these two phones is once you start zooming in up to 5x and 10x. So I feel like if you're upgrading from the iPhone 14, the biggest area where you feel like you're going to get the most improvement is being able to zoom in more. And of course, getting the better quality at 5x. In terms of shooting with the main camera lens, I feel like the background blur is very similar, so for the average person, they may not notice a huge difference just shooting with the main camera lens. But on iPhone 15, you do have the option to use the full 24 megapixel camera to shoot higher quality pictures or higher megapixel pictures. Now, this would only apply to the main camera lens, so if you're shooting with the ultra wide, it goes back down to 12 megapixels. Another area of improvement is shooting in portrait mode. Now you will notice a 2x button to zoom in, which I do prefer the look of it with the compressed background and the whole picture just look more flattering. So it's nice to have more options shooting in this mode, and you will notice some of a contrastier look on my skin on iPhone 15. And depending on which one is better, that really depends on your personal preference. For low light pictures, when you're shooting around tungsten light, it does show more realistically to the eye or closer to the eye on the iPhone 15 versus the 14. And shooting with the ultra wide and wide, it feels like if you have a strong light source within that photo, a lot of it tends to be a bit sharper and cleaner on iPhone 15. So for the most part, if you're in a city with a lot of building lights, street lights, and cars, then yeah, those pictures tend to be cleaner. But if you are showing your friends side by side, most likely they can't really tell the difference, especially looking at the phone screens. Now, when you're shooting in a very dark area, I feel like this is where you see a huge difference between the two, which happens usually at the 2x and above. So in this picture, the iPhone 14 seems to be a bit softer, but there's less noise and artifacts in the sky. On the iPhone 15, you can see a lot of noise. It's not as clean as the 14, so I feel like it is over processed in some sort of way or over sharpened. Now moving on to video, to me the ultra wide and the wide performs very identical to each other, so you won't see a huge difference or a big gap between the two. Now one thing I did capture on the wide lens is that on the iPhone 14, there is this moment where it changes the white balance really quickly, like it went from the normal white to a really tungsten look to back to white again, whereas on iPhone 15, the white balance stayed kept consistent throughout the whole shot. Next up, trying the 2x on both. Clearly the iPhone 15 is a lot cleaner, so if you do need to punch in, then it shouldn't hurt too badly. And then there's max zoom to 3x on a 14 and then 6x on iPhone 15. At this point at nighttime, clearly it's not going to look the best, but if you do need to zoom in more, then obviously the iPhone 15 has you on that. And trying it out during daytime, still not the cleanest, but it's still better than 3x on the iPhone 14. Now trying 3x on both, clearly the iPhone 15 is going to look cleaner. And then back to the wide and ultra wide during daytime. They're both very similar stabilization wise and also coloring and everything. So in terms of video, the only big improvement you'll see is during the nighttime. And then I'm ending it off with some selfies. It does seem like the skin tone is a bit different from each other. But yeah, let me know your thoughts down below between these two phones and what you think. And personally, if you have an iPhone 12 or lower, I would recommend it's time to upgrade. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.